This video is made possible by our loyal Patreon supporters. Visit patreon.com/psychetruth.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us today. We're going to be doing a upper back and shoulder massage with some rotator cuff work. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my oil. We'll get started. So usually when I am about to begin a massage, I really like to check in with myself. And I really like to, it might sound kind of cheesy, but rooting down through my feet, really feeling grounded before I put my hands on my client. So I'm going to go ahead and just go in with some nice relaxing effleurage. Just getting that oil on there. So effleurage is just, a gliding, cohesive motion. And if you're working on a massage table, make sure that you have plenty of space to work in your client's neck. So you might need to move the face cradle down a little bit more. And really, I'm just making sure that there's plenty of oil where I'm going to be needing it. I'm going to start going in with the outer edges of my hands. Alright, so I am using the outer edges of my hands and really making sure that my own spine is staying nice and long. And I'm going to start working my way into the soft tissue a little bit more before I do anything deep. And I'm focusing a lot on the upper trap and the levator scap. So just working the soft tissue right now, warming everything up. And I'm going to go ahead and just work my way down with these 3 fingers. So I'm just going to start walking my way down these rhomboids. And I've been talking a lot in my videos about using my whole body when I work. I was finding that for a little while I was getting really tired and I wasn't really practicing proper body mechanics. So I'm swaying my whole body and working from my core. So my arms, my hands, they're just an extension. They're not really the main player when you're doing this kind of work. So I'm just walking my hands down that rhomboid area. And if you want to do deep tissue, it's really hard to do it with this technique, but it's a great way to begin the massage and really work the soft tissue. So when I'm about to do deeper work on a client, I never start with deep tissue. You really need to warm up the soft tissue and also just see how the muscles are responding and if it's even appropriate to do deep tissue. So yeah, I'm just, warming up these rhomboids and it's also really healthy to work along the spinal column. So there's a lot of connective tissue that runs along the spinal column. One of the healthiest things that you can do to help someone with upper back pain is to just work this connective tissue along the spine. So what I'm doing is as you can see, I'm just placing, 2 fingers along the spine, and I'm using my hand on top to just give that extra pressure. So this is also a really good thing to do without oil. So it really, when you're doing that dry work, that amount of friction stimulates the connective tissue in a way that's really, really healthy when you're doing this kind of thing. So I'm using very little oil, so there's some friction, just the right amount for what I want to be doing right now. And you do need to be a lot more careful when you get closer to the neck. So you can cause misalignment in the neck if you, don't work the muscles along the sides of the neck properly. Especially when someone is prone like this, you just need to be a little bit more careful in the way that you work and do deep tissue in the neck. And a lot of therapists don't even, like to do deep tissue in the neck because it's a little bit tricky to do effective deep tissue in the neck. And most of the time, when someone has a lot of neck pain, most of my focus is in the shoulders and the upper back. So I am going to start doing some deeper work now. I think that we're ready and the muscles are responding nicely. So I'm just going to put a little more oil on so that get that right glide across the muscles. And I've said this before in my massage videos that I like lotion better than oil, but to each his own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting into these rhomboid muscles a little bit. So as I lean over, I'm keeping my spine long, and I'm going to go ahead and just place my elbows on each side of the spine on those rhomboid muscles. I'm going to work my way down. So as I start to do this, just checking in with the muscles, and everything's responding really nicely. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper. And again, just applying less pressure when I get closer towards the neck. You can also, if you're feeling a spot on either side that feels a little more contracted, you can pause for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start working my way into this right levator scapula a little bit more. So I'm just going to go ahead and rest my right arm, and I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and you can release the right arm, and I'm going to start using a broader surface area as I work my way into the shoulder. So the levator can be a really stubborn muscle. So I'm starting with broader surface area, and then I'm working my elbow into that muscle. So you don't want to just jam your elbow in right away. It's a lot more effective to start with more surface area. Just this hair is starting to be sure that you're not pulling your client's hair. Trying to do deep tissue on the levator with your thumb is just really hard on the thumb. So I really like doing this kind of work with my elbow. All right, so not overworking that area. I'm going to go ahead and transition to my right elbow, and I'm going to just start working my way down the rhomboids and even into that scapula a little bit. Definitely working on that upper trap. And really you can do this as slowly as you like. So a lot of therapists will go like really, really slow and just work the way down. So just keeping a nice, consistent pressure. You have a lot of control when you're in this position. So it's a way to protect the spine and really get into the different muscles along the spine. And if you find an area that feels fibrous, you can just hold it for a moment. And again, just checking in with my own body, really trying to keep my spine long, so not just hunching over. And I'm actually going to start working my way into the scapula a little bit and just working my way around. And it can be really nice to actually hold my hand, and so it's like your one unit, and your left hand can kind of help guide your elbow. All right, so the scapula can be really not the easiest area to access. So working it more superficially, but getting in there a little bit. And I'm actually going to transition. So I'm going to get into the scapula a little bit with my left elbow, and I'm going to do a little bit of trigger point here. So just going to hold and release. And just holding, really paying attention to how the muscles are responding. And it's really nice if you can just offer a little bit of length after doing that compression work. And I'm actually going to work my way right into the rotator cuff a little bit. So this is kind of not the best angle to work on the rotator cuff. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the shoulder a little. And this is a really nice way to work, or you can actually bring the arm all the way forward. My favorite way is actually right on the side like that. So the easiest way to learn, I think, to work on the rotator cuff is with your thumb, just because there's so much sensitivity in the thumb that when you're working on a foreign area that you're not familiar with, you want to have a lot of sensitivity. So I actually really like to do little circles. It's a nice way to warm up the soft tissue. Before I do anything deeper, like trigger point work, you just really need to warm everything up. And this is actually just a really simple distraction technique. If you just leave your opposite hand on your client's back, it kind of brings some of the attention away from the painful area that's super contracted. So I'm just gradually, I'm trying to go a little bit deeper, and I'm going to start doing a little bit more trigger point. I'm going to start holding. Okay, so I am about max pressure right now. And just because you're doing trigger point doesn't mean you can't have some movement in your hand or your finger. And you can go in with your 3 fingers, just kind of lengthen it, offer some decongestion of that muscle area. You can do a little petrissage. It's really nice in the rotator cuff. So if you'll notice, I'm being really mindful of my transitions from each thing to the next. So petrissage is a great way to work the soft tissue after you do deeper work. And before I start with the opposite side, I always kind of check in and just do something a little more relaxing. All right, so let's see if I can remember the routine that I just did. All right, so I'm going to start with this levator scapula. So I'm just going to bring my right elbow in, starting with a broader surface area, really trying to keep my spine long. And I'm just going to start gradually working my way in. Again, this can be a really tight area in most people, so it's just great if you can include some of this type of work. And don't expect for things to feel exactly the same from right to left. You're certainly going to notice some differences. So I'm going to start using my elbow, less surface area now. Okay, so just one last hold, this upper shoulder area, using as little surface area as I can. And I'm going to go ahead and transition into the rhomboid. So I'm going to change to the opposite elbow to protect the spine as I work my way down. If you're new to massage, it can feel more approachable if you do this in sections instead of, running your elbow all the way down. You can just kind of do 1 inch at a time and really stay tuned into your own body, keeping your spine as long as possible. So I'm going to start just working my way into these rhomboids a little bit more. And again, this is something you can do really slowly. If you have the time for it, it can feel really nice. And so I'm going to start to transition into the scapula. And it's actually a lot easier to do trigger point with the opposite elbow. So I'm going to go ahead and just resituate and do a little bit of trigger point in here. So the scapula, there's a few different ways that you can open it up a little bit. I really like to do this kind of work just without moving the arm, or this is my favorite way to do trigger point in the scapula. All right, so I'm going to start, I'm going to end with this work in the rotator cuff. So go ahead and find that right position. And sometimes you can even just open up the shoulder a little bit more by pulling. You can also relax the arm a little bit just by pulling. Okay. And just go ahead and do little circles. So I'm just going to warm up the soft tissue, just like the opposite side. And again, if you're new to rotator cuff work, or if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, then just using your thumb is a great place to start, because you have so much sensitivity in your fingers. And don't expect, again, for things to feel exactly the same. So this one actually feels a little bit tighter on the opposite side. So just continuing to kind of warm up everything. I find that in the infraspinatus, sometimes the muscle fiber can feel so like ropey that it's hard to know where to press. But using the thumb, I don't know, it just somehow feels easier to do the right thing. So I'm going to start in with more pressure. So again, this is just a really simple distraction technique, just leaving the hand on the back. So I'm just going to start pressing, and you can do very subtle movement, so it's not that my finger's moving off of the muscle. It's just a really nice way to make this a little more digestible because it can feel pretty tender. And I'm just gonna go ahead and lengthen that muscle fiber a little bit. Working my way all the way down to that attachment. And just a little pet massage to massage that soft tissue. Just ending with something that feels nice. All right, guys, that is it for today. Well, that's it for a massage today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we're filming a lower back and hip massage that you can find exclusively on Patreon, and I'd love for you guys to check us out there. Thanks again for joining.